Yo, what's up guys? You got PokeaimMD here with another competitive Pokemon Sun and Moon moveset video guide, how to use whatever you want to call it. This time we're going to be talking about Alolan Exeggutor. Now, before we get into it, I just want to say there's a playlist down below. I encourage you to check that out if you missed any of my previous moveset videos. I've done a bunch of Pokemon so far. We're almost to the end of the Sun and Moon Mons. And yeah, I encourage you to check that out. Also, feel free to follow me on Twitch and Twitter. Those links are down below as well. So, Alolan Exeggutor, a really interesting mon, being grass and dragon. It's the second of its kind, the first of course being Mega Sceptile, which gives it a bunch of weaknesses: flying, poison, bug, ice, dragon, and fairy, but some key resistances being ground, water, grass, and electric. On top of that, it has an amazing move pool. It honestly has so many moves that there's going to be so many slashes on all the sets that we're going to be talking about. And it has great base 108 attack, amazing base 125 special attack, pretty decent base 85 defense, pretty decent, or average base 75 special defense, base 95 HP, and then slow base 45 speed. They made it a little bit slower than regular Exeggutor, which is a little bit unfortunate. I think if it kept regular Exeggutor speed, that would help it so much on certain sets, and I'll talk about why. But it has two abilities, being Frisk, which helps you identify your opponent's held item, which is pretty useful in competitive Pokemon, especially I think when facing a Pokemon like Greninja. You're not going to stay in on Greninja, but just to know what item Greninja is running, or whether it be Orb or Specs, it kind of helps out in determining whether it's Protean Greninja or Ash Greninja. Don't quote me on that though, because Ash Greninja can run Life Orb, but most of the time they are Specs, whereas Protean runs Life Orb. But the other ability it has is Harvest, so it has a 50% chance to restore its berry at the end of the turn, 100% in Sun, and pretty much it can keep getting back its berry. But it has an amazing move pool, and the first set we're going to be talking about is Choice Specs. This boy has so many coverage options. So Choice Specs, you're going to run Draco Meteor. That boy could drop Dracos, Giga Drain, or Leaf Storm. If you want Giga Drain, Giga Drain is good for recovery on this mon, whereas Leaf Storm is obviously their nuke, like Draco Meteor. I like Giga Drain though, just because it's a pretty bulky mon, has a pretty good speed tier too, and at least for this set, it has a decent speed tier. And I really like the idea of getting recovery with Giga Drain. Flamethrower is the next option to be able to deal with steel types: Celesteela, Skarmory, Feral Thorn. Its speed tier is actually decent because with Modest Natured, max special attack, and max speed on a neutral, Modest Nature obviously, you hit 189 speed, which allows you to outspeed Mega Scizor that don't run speed, which is kind of common these days. They're not running too much speed, just because they have to be really defensive since the Tapus are running around. It also allows you to outspeed Skarmory, so you can 2-hit KO or OHKO those with a Choice Specs Flamethrower, 2-hit KO Celesteela with a Choice Specs Flamethrower. And Sleep Powder is the last option. Now, you don't have to run Sleep Powder, but it just gives you a cool option, just because your opponent has to think twice about what they want to send in. You can put something to sleep and just switch out on that. There's a bunch of other options. Ancient Power, if Talonflame was more relevant, I would say Ancient Power is a really good set. Obviously Draco Meteor, you can run you can even run Dragon Tail if you want to be able to phase out your opponent. Earthquake if you want to be able to hit Heat Ran, which this mainly either resists or takes no damage from being Flamethrower. Energy Ball is a good option as well. Like I said, this Pokemon has so many options, so Energy Ball is a good option, and Grass Knot to hit both of your opponents. I would run Energy Ball over Grass Knot, if anything, because Energy Ball hits Manaphy and Rotom for a lot more than Grass Knot does. Grass Knot hitting Pokemon like Hippowdon for more, but either way, Giga Drain and Specs Energy Ball are doing tons to Hippowdon. Even a Hidden Power of choice, though, I wouldn't waste a Hidden Power on this mon just yet, simply because its moveset is amazing. Even a Sludge Bomb for fairies, or a Psychic type attack for poison types. It really is up to you. This Pokemon has so many options that it can run on a special set. But on the Specs set, we are running Dual Stab and Flamethrower for steel types, which resists your Dual Stab, and then Sleep Powder. Now, next up we have a Choice Band set. Has a really solid physical move pool as well, and it got a new move this generation called Dragon Hammer. It's a 90 base power, 100% accurate physical dragon attack. This boy has a big, long neck, and they gave it a move to abuse that. So on the Choice Band set, we have Sleep Powder, Dragon Hammer, Wood Hammer, and Earthquake. Earthquake allows you to deal with steel types like Heat Ran, also being able to deal with Pokemon like Magnezone, Toxapex without having to lose HP from Wood Hammer recoil. Same thing with Tyranitar, same reasoning, not having to lose HP from recoil, and Jirachi. But the Choice Band set runs Sleep Powder, Dragon Hammer, Wood Hammer, and Earthquake. You don't have to run Sleep Powder. Again, it has other moves that you can run. You can run Dragon Tail to be able to force out your opponent, get a little bit of chip damage. If you pack it with Hazards, you can run Facade if you're burnt. Another option, of course, is Explosion. It's a very, very powerful mon, so Explosion is definitely a decent option on this Pokemon. But I like Sleep Powder on the Choice Band set just because it means you have some sort of option versus Pokemon such as Celesteela, Skarmory, and Scizor, all of which resist or take all the moves or are immune to all the moves that this Pokemon currently has in its set. Frisk is ran on all these just because you're not running a Berry. So at least being able to identify your Pokemon, your opponent's item, like if they send out Skarmory at full HP, you don't know if they're Shed Shell, Leftovers, or Rocky Helmet, but Frisk obviously tells you immediately, so that helps out in play. But you can definitely change this EV spread. The current EV spread we have is just Max Attack Adamant, 132 HP, and the rest is put into speed. Well, more so 124 speed, which allows you to outspeed Pokemon such as Clef and below. And the rest is dumped into HP, but you can definitely make it like even near max, but I don't think that's necessary when you're not really able to touch Pokemon such as Scizor with this set. Flamethrower is also a decent option even for running Adamant. It's still 2-hit KO Scizor, it's still 2-hit KO's Ferrothorn, and physically defensive Skarmory just because it has a really nice base 125 special attack. So next up we have Trick Room. Now I have a special Trick Room set here, but it can easily go a physical Trick Room set with like Dragon Hammer, Wood Hammer, Earthquake. You can even go mix with Giga Drain, Draco Meteor, Earthquake, Dragon Hammer, Wood Hammer. Like I said, this is a Pokemon that has so many options. So on Trick Room, you can even run Sleep Powder. I'm going to talk about this Trick Room set, but I'm going to say a few other options first. You can run a Harvest set with a Berry, with like Sub, or just a Berry over Life Orb to be able to switch into Pokemon such as Tapu Bulu better because you do 4 times resist Tapu Bulu's Wood Hammer and Hornleech, just as Grass Stab in general. So that's definitely an option. Trick Room can run so many options, but I'm going to focus on the special Trick Room set because that's the one I had the most success with. But you can definitely run one with Harvest, a Berry of choice, and then like Giga Drain, Draco Meteor, Flamethrower, or mixed, or fully physical. But because of its low base speed, it definitely functions as a solid Trick Room user. I would compare it to Bronzong in DPP. Bronzong is a Trick Room user that doesn't depend on support, meaning that if you run Trick Room Bronzong in DPP with Gyro Ball, Earthquake, and Explosion, you hit pretty much everything. Explosion was a nuke in DPP. But it's a Pokemon that the rest of the team doesn't necessarily have to be Trick Room for it to function. It has such a good move pool, Grass Dragon and Fire Stab, very, very solid coverage. That it can just function as its own standalone Trick Room user on just a normal team, like on balance or on offense, and just like an anti-speed meta thing that just allows you to take on faster teams is what I'm trying to say. But Trick Room, Life Orb, Giga Drain, Draco Meteor, Flamethrower, max special attack, max HP for defense, Quiet Nature boosts your special attack obviously, and also minimizes your speed, so you can run 0 speed IVs if you're running Trick Room. And again, if you're running a Berry, Harvest is better. Frisk is cool on this set. Like I said, guys, this Pokemon has so many options. You can even run PokeaimMD. That way, if you set up a Trick Room, you get the boosted accuracy, and then your Sleep Powder hits like pretty much all the time, and really close to all the time, and if not all the time, and that will allow you to get accurate Sleep Powders off. So that's also an option on Trick Room variants. You can run PokeaimMD with that. So this can definitely function as its own standalone Trick Room user. Like I said, it could be on a team as a Trick Room setter and as an abuser of it, but it can also function on any team, I think, except for like maybe Stall, but as an anti-Metamon, a Trick Room user. And again, Leaf Storm is also an option. So Swords Dance is another cool option it has. Like I said, this Pokemon has so many things in its pocket, man. This boy has so many tricks. But we're going to run Jolly Swords Dance with this. Jolly Max Speed allows you to outspeed Pokemon such as Min Speed, Venusaur, Min Speed, Heatran, Relaxed Nature, Landorus with HP Ice, so then you can hit those harder with your Swords Dance boosted Wood Hammer, Dragon Hammer, Earthquake. You can run Dragon MZ You can run Gracium Z for a strong Bloom Doom versus Landorus at +2. Again, Flamethrower can be used, but this is just basic coverage. Your physical Dragon attack, your physical Ground type attack to deal with steals, and your physical Grass type attack. Dragon Z does allow Dragon Hammer to hit pretty hard with Devastating Drake. But again, Life Orb is a decent option. Harvest with Lumberry is a decent option as well. Or even a Healing Berry, or like a Chestnut Resto Berry, or something like that. But Swords Dance, I think it needs more support because Swords Dance doesn't have obviously the strong Flamethrower or the outright strong Banded attacks right off the bat. So I would run something like Magnezone with this. I'll be talking about some partners, but Magnezone is definitely a really good partner if you're running any physical variant, just because it traps all the steel types that it can't touch: Scizor, Ferrothorn, Skarmory, Celesteela. But I really do wish it had Exeggutor speed, because Exeggutor caps that at 229 speed, which would be an amazing speed tier for Alolan Exeggutor, allowing it to outspeed Pokemon like defensive Tapu Fini, defensive Rotom all the time, defensive Landorus all the time, just Pokemon like that. Like, most of them cap out at 219 speed, maybe Landorus Therian form can run a little bit more, maybe, it can run a little bit less, Rotom generally runs less. Tapu Fini can cap out at 217, but it can go even more if it wants to. It would be amazing if this Pokemon had it, but Dragon Z gives you just a stronger Dragon type attack, but you can also run Bloom Doom as an option. Now, it again has so many cool options that one of them could be a defensive Wish support mod. So this is the defensive Wish support set. This allows you to take on, because it does have decently high HP, it can pass pretty fat wishes, almost 200 HP wishes. It does learn Wish Protect, so that's going to be on the set. Wish Protect is so good in this generation, just Protect in general, just because so many mons either have Z moves, either are choice. There's just so many strong mons running around, and I think Protect is really solid right now. Just being able to scout what they want to do, even being able to scout what Ash Greninja wants to do. But you can run a Leftover set, you can run a Harvest Berry set. I would definitely run Leftovers Frisk on this set though, especially with Wish and Protect. Not only do you scout your opponent's moves, but you also scout their items. Giga Drain or Dragon Tail is the first move. Basically, Giga Drain obviously gives you recovery versus Pokemon such as Rotom, ground types, and recovery alongside Wish, whereas Dragon Tail allows you to phase out Pokemon, so if you want to run Spikes, if you want to run Hazard support. And then Flamethrower is the last move, because I don't think you want to be walled by steals with this set, so being able to hit Scizor for a 2-hit KO, being able to hit Ferrothorn for a 2-hit KO, being able to do damage to Celesteela or hitting Skarmory with a 2-hit KO, definitely, I think, worth it on this Pokemon. But this is if you need a defensive Wish Passer that can resist Grass. There also is the option, of course, of Jirachi, but Exeggutor resists Ground, which is something that Jirachi does not have going for it. So it's a pretty cool option, whereas it also doesn't take too much from U-Turn from Landorus. It resists Ground type attacks. It can take on Stone Edges, take on knockoffs. It doesn't really matter if it loses items, since it does have Wish support, but this is a pretty cool option that Exeggutor does have as a defensive Wish support mon. Now, other options, again, it has so many options, you can run a sub Harvest Berry set. Citrus Berry is an option. There's also the other berries that work at like 25%. I like Citrus though, because it works at 50%, which is more so where you're going to be most of the time. I think it's harder to get back down to 25% with this mon, especially when you have Giga Drain recovery. But Energy Ball is an option. I mentioned Energy Ball. Stun Spore is an option if you want to be able to paralyze your opponent. It definitely can run some sort of double powder, Stun Spore, Sleep Powder. Again, sub Harvest is a set. It does have access to Leech Seed, so that is also an option that can run. Even a Trick Room Dual Screens Explosion set. Synthesis for reliable recovery over like Wish can be ran. This Pokemon has so many options. It really is up to you what you make of it. Cater it to your team. None of these sets are final, so cater it to what you need to do. Cater your EVs to what you need to do. And a few teammates it can have. I mentioned Magnezone obviously being able to trap Celesteela, Skarmory, Ferrothorn, Scizor for it. Metagross is a good partner because it resists flying, poison, or is immune to poison. Resist flying, dragon, fairy, and ice type attacks that all threaten Exeggutor super effectively, and likewise Exeggutor does resist the ground type attacks coming at it. Landorus is a really good option just for stealth rock. Because this is Pokemon is Grass and Dragon, another option that it does have is Gravity, because it can be a decent gravity setter since it's not weak to Earthquake after setting up a Gravity. Whereas a Pokemon like Landorus, which abuses Gravity very well, but then it takes also damage from Earthquake. So this could be a pretty cool Gravity setter. Combine that with Landorus. Landorus also provides rocks. It provides resistances to poison, bug coming at him, as well as intimidate, whereas Exeggutor resists the water type attacks coming out at Landers. Gengar is a pretty cool offensive partner, being able to pretty much deal with the fairy types that threaten Alolan Exeggutor, be able to damage a lot of Pokemon, honestly, just with Stab, Shadow Ball, Stab, Sludge Bomb, or Sludge Wave, respectively. And it also benefits from Gravity. Focus Blast always hits, whereas Exeggutor resists the ground type attacks coming out at him. So still a really, really solid defensive partner. I mean, pretty much everything that this Pokemon is weak to, Exeggutor being, again, Flying, Poison, Bug, Dragon, Fairy. The only mon that's not on that list, or the only type that's not on that list that Celesteela doesn't resist for Exeggutor is actually Ice. Ice is neutral. But Celesteela resists pretty much everything coming at Exeggutor, whereas Exeggutor resists the electric type attacks coming at it, and they pair pretty well together. If you're running a physical set, Celesteela pairs pretty well because it deals with these steel types that Exeggutor cannot touch. This also just takes on the Tapus that Exeggutor has a little bit of an issue with. Likewise, a Marowak can provide Stealth Rock, can take on Tapu Koko, which obviously Exeggutor does resist electric, but doesn't appreciate the fairy. Marowak with Lightning Rod, immune to the electric type attacks, resist the fairy, can get up rocks, can threaten everything offensively that Exeggutor does not like. Lures in Pokemon such as Tapu Fini, weakens them for like a Trick Room Exeggutor to Giga Drain it away later. And also Tapu Fini can defog away the hazards. It can take the Dragon type attacks coming at it. It pretty much takes everything. The Ice type attacks, defog, can combine up, boost, and it appreciates Exeggutor getting rid of steel types that this mon might otherwise have trouble with. Speaking of like Ferrothorn or SD Scizor. SD Scizor though, be careful because it could be faster than you. You do live a +2 bullet punch, but U-turn is going to be doing a ton if you're not faster than it, or if you're not using a Trick Room barrier. But also, Exeggutor resists the electric and grass type attacks that come out of Tapu Fini. In any case, guys, that's all I got for you for Alolan Exeggutor. Hope you learned something. Feel free, of course, to leave a like, subscribe, do your thing, and check me out on Twitter and Twitch. Links are down below. And I'll see you guys next time. Goodbye, friends.